OK, wonderful people, time now for The Clash. Professional victim Ngozi Fulani, remember her, Marlene, is back, announcing this morning that she will temporarily step down as CEO of charity Sister Space. She also used International Women's Day to speak out for the first time since supposedly building bridges with Buckingham Palace, after Fulani accused Lady Susan Hussey of racism back in November. Watch this.
Who are they apologising to? If you're sorry, tell me you're sorry. If you're not, it speaks for itself. If you have to ask somebody for an apology, it is not an apology. I'm just making the point so that everybody understands, yeah? I don't see what is so hard to say, I'm sorry.
OK, well, that's a bit weird, because her claims are completely at odds with the Palace's statement from December the 16th, which read, "At this meeting, filled with warmth and understanding, Lady Susan offered her sincere apologies for the comments that were made and the distress they caused to Ms Fulani. Ms Fulani has accepted this apology and appreciates that no malice was intended. Yet, nearly 3 months later, Ngozi Fulani has decided to reject the apology that many of us felt she didn't deserve in the first place, reigniting the palace race row just weeks before May's coronation." But what do you think? Should the royal family have personally apologised to Ngozi Fulani for a second time? Send your opinions through, dan@gbnews.uk. Tweet me @GBNews. There's also, of course, a poll running there, which you can vote in. But hurry up, clock's ticking. I'll reveal the results shortly. But here right now to get to the bottom of this are journalist and socialite Petronella Wyatt. But I'd love to be a socialite. And political commentator Albie Amankona. Fantastic stuff. There we go. Well, I will start with the socialite. Why not? Petronella, ladies first. Do you think the palace should have apologised at all, let alone a second time?
I think the palace were panicked into an apology because I know Lady Susan Hussey. She's certainly not racist. I think she was asking questions in a genuine spirit of friendliness and curiosity. The palace did apologise. That's absolutely fine. They bent over backwards to apologise. So the idea that they should apologise again is one of the most illogical things I've heard in the last 10 years, and I've had a lot of illogical things. Apologise for what?
Well, this is the other thing, and Albie, I'll just bring you in on this now. Do you not find it a little bit confusing? Because we had the initial standing down resignation of Lady Susan Hussey, then we had a meeting, and then we had a statement, and then we had another palace apology, and she's still not happy.
I would probably say confusion was the word that was going through my mind when I watched that interview of Ngozi Fulani, I believe, and also her daughter, with Susanna and Richard earlier on Good Morning Britain. I'm just not really sure what she's complaining about. You know, she went through this unfortunate experience at the palace with Lady Susan Hussey. She exposed that experience online. She had lots of people agreeing with her, right from Julia Hartley-Brewer on the right to Nadine Right on the left. And she had an apology. She had a meeting at the palace. The palace implemented the changes that she wanted them to implement. And now she's carrying on like the palace haven't done anything at all. I actually think the palace have behaved quite well in this situation. And they've got absolutely nothing to apologise for today.
Petronella, what do you think she really wants?
I have no idea. I think she is, let's say, becoming slightly eccentric. She seems to be blaming the palace for alleged abuse she's had on social media, and that the palace hasn't done anything to prevent this, which is incredibly ludicrous because the palace cannot control social media.
All right. I'm just going to bring in now co-convener of Anti-Racism Day. It's Wayman Bennett. Wayman, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. I believe we can bring Wayman in. There we go. Good stuff. Can you just shed some light on this for me? We are a bit confused as to what exactly Ngozi Fulani wants, because she has appeared to have had at least 2 apologies now. What more is there?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that she's been subject to a huge amount of racist abuse. And it's not just in this country, actually. Internationally, people have watched how she's been treated. It's not an accident that last year Barbados decided to drop the Queen as the head of state. And Jamaica, Canada, a whole series of different countries are thinking about doing this. And it's actually based on these questions. So many of the people coming in saying, "Oh, don't bother apologising. It doesn't matter."
But
Actually,
they have
what we're talking
apologised.
about
This is
diminishing the role of the monarchy, because people will not accept that sometimes there's racism within institutions. What they'd rather do is live in a world of denial.
Yeah, can I just say, and look, Albie, I'll go to you on this now, because we just heard from Petronella before that, which is that when Ngozi Fulani was on that show earlier this morning, she was there in however you would describe the attire that she was wearing, and her earrings appeared to have, you know, the map of Africa on it. And when I look at that, and I just wonder whether or not an 83-year-old woman could be forgiven for allegedly asking her which part of Africa she came from.
Look, ultimately, I think the exchange that happened with Lady Susan Hussey and Ngozi Fulani last year seemed rude on Lady Susan Hussey's part, and I think the majority of the British public agree with me on that. But the point is that, you know, racism and racial disparities are real. We see them in healthcare, we see them in policing, we see them in education, we see them in employment. This situation which has happened with Ngozi Fulani today and last year at the Palace is not comparable to the very real struggles that people go through. So when people talk about these issues in the trivial way that Ngozi Fulani has spoken about them today, I think it just makes the very real racial struggles that people go through seem pointless and not real. And I think that's a shame. Petronella,
do you think that Lady Susan Hussey will just be absolutely mortified today again to see this back in the media outlet?
Poor Susan Hussey was devastated by the effect her well-meaning, and they were well-meant, comments were taken. She's a terribly nice elderly lady, and it broke her heart. I mean, she's one of the most sincere people I know, and I think it's terribly...
OK. All right, I'll come in here because we were a little bit short of time. And Wayman, can I ask you, Ngozi Fulani says that the Palace should have done more to protect her from abuse. I mean, what could the Palace have done?
What abuse?
I mean, with respect, if Ngozi Fulani hadn't come out and said it, and then gone on all the media outlets, go on, Wayman.
When she raised the dispute, right, to be honest, she faced a barrage of racism. She lost her job. There was an inquiry into her stability about whether she should have the job.
But she didn't lose her job. She said she temporarily resigned.
Can I just say, because I want to be absolutely clear, when it comes on to protecting old ladies in the aristocracy, there's enormous amounts of sympathy. When it comes on to protecting black women from Hackney, which, you know, I agree that antagonistic racism could be much worse than what was faced on that day. But that doesn't disprove the fact that the Palace and the institution, the royal family, has a problem with racism.
No, they fell over backwards to address it.
You might
address this problem impeccably, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
I'm going to finish my point, right? Whether it's marrying somebody that's black that causes enormous heartache inside the royal family instead of marrying an English rose,
I'm sorry, that simply isn't true.
There's a problem which they live in denial in this country, that there's a problem of when you try and challenge institutional racism.
I'm going to go back to you. I'm going to go back to you on this. So let me just ask you another question.
Deal with it as British people, that we want progress, and the only way to deal with progress is to challenge backward ideas, and wherever they're from.
Right. So, Wayman, let me just put this to you, OK? The problem I think that many people in this country have with Meghan Markle has got nothing to do with the fact that she's black. I think people just don't like her because of her personality.
Right? I don't believe that's true.
This is nonsense.
But also, can I just say, Wayman, now, Ngozi Fulani, the day after she chose to publicise what happened with Lady Susan Hussey, was on every single media outlet going, including this one, and she got a very easy ride, even on this media outlet, which, if I'm being honest, is something that I was potentially a little bit disappointed about at the time, because it was very soft-bat stuff. She did not get a rough ride. So
exactly, and the Palace caved in immediately. They caved in.
And the Palace caved in. So where did all of this nasty element come from?
Racist British network. Did you see?
There is no racist British network. This is a fantasy.
Social media responded to that. Death threats. and all those things. I'm sorry, but Lady
There
Hussey did
may
not
be
get a
death threats on
for
social
speaking
media
out
because
on
there
that.
are nutters on social media, but the palace can't be responsible for those.
Albie, final words to you. What more could the palace have done? Albie,
the
final words
palace
to
is
Albie.
slow
What could
to
the
deal
palace
with
have done?
questions of racism. When
my
racism
opinion-
is raised, even
I'll let
within
Wayman
its own
finish.
family, they go into denial, and there's a serious problem.
Wayman, OK, fair enough. You've had your say now. Albie, I will give the final word to you. What more could the palace have done?
Look, in this situation, I think the palace actually behaved quite well. There was obviously an incident which happened, which was unfortunate. There was a personal apology throughout a meeting in the palace. There were 2 press releases released apologising to Ngozi Fulani. I think we've got to just stop this culture of victimhood. I don't know what she's complaining about. I wish she would use her platform for good instead of slagging off the palace.
All right, look, all of you, thank you very, very much. That was co-convener of Anti-Racism Day there, Wayman Bennett, journalist and socialite Petronella Wyatt, and political commentator Albie Amankona. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a proper clash. Right, thank you very, very much. A range of views. A range of views. Right, I'm going to go to the inbox now. So who do you agree with? Should the monarchy have apologised to Ngozi Fulani for a second time? Vicky says, the royal family should absolutely not apologise a second time. Well, it's a bit late for that. Who does this woman think she is? Lorraine on Twitter says, the racist abuse Ngozi Fulani has received means she's been forced to step down from her role. The royals should have safeguarded her. Well, that is interesting, Lorraine, as well, because I think there has been rather a lot of scrutiny into Sister Space, and whether or not the real reason why she stepped down is because of abuse remains to be seen, I think. But Marty on Twitter says, she already accepted an apology. She's just an attention seeker. OK, well, there you go. Your verdict is now in, ladies and gentlemen. You've all been beavering away at your keypads and you've been coming up now voting in our Twitter poll. 4% of you agree that the royals should have apologised again. I mean, we could have predicted this, couldn't we? 96% of you say that they should not have apologised. So it's hardly the Brexit referendum result, is it? There we go.